Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. Well, we've arrived at 2 o'clock. I'd like to start. My name is Matt Cambick. I'm your board president. Dan, if you could introduce yourself, and we'll work our way right down the line.
Dan Lenninger, director.
Hang on.
Chuck Hill, board member.
Mark Eckert, treasurer.
Denise Lexell, director.
Sean Kreiderman, secretary.
Larry Santora, assistant treasurer.
I'd like to welcome everybody who's turned out today for our inaugural Governance Synchronization Conference. And the first thing I want to do is apologize. We would have much rather have done this in a more intimate gathering in the ballroom. It just simply wasn't available to us today. And so all the people I'm talking to are kind of hidden over there in that corner. All this empty space over here. But I figured it out, Walter. We got everybody in the corner over there. I'm still going to find you. Hey, this is an extension of what we did on the 10th of January when we had our board organization meeting. And if you remember, we had a board manual that we had created, and we went through the first 6 pages of that board manual, which laid out, or 9 pages, I can't remember now, which laid out the board's year. The purpose of this venue today is to have a conversation between us, the board, Walter and his staff, the Troon staff, and all of the chairmen of our advisory committees to talk about the goals that we'd like to see coordinated and executed this year to align our activity on accomplishing the mission that we briefed you all on 10 January. So welcome. It's good to see you all here, even if you are sitting over there in the corner, Walter. Next slide, please. SOAR in 24. I'm not a very original guy. So I attend church with my wife on Sundays down at the Community Church of Saddlebrook. And my pastor has been doing a series of sermons on soaring in 24. Well, being the good thief I am, that's precisely what I want for our community in 2024. We want to soar. So let me talk a moment about effective governance. Because in the survey, a lot of members of our community express a lack of confidence in the governance in our corporation. Effective governance is the result of many elements. We've got to have board leadership. We've got to have strategic vision. We've got to have clear roles and responsibilities, accountability, transparency, performance management, and we've got to have participation from residents like you and me. If all of us will learn to work together and focus on the mission that we've established, I believe we can soar in 24. Next slide.
Okay, this is an outline for what we're going to do today and how we're going to move through this process. We're going to start with the board and kind of re-talk about our strategic planning that we've already gone through a few days ago. So we'll talk about that. We're going to highlight board goals and objectives that came from that strategic planning. Then we're going to link the staff and their goals to our board goals and our objectives and your objectives. What? Oh, cool. Thank you. See, that's how it's done. Right there is how it's done. I appreciate that. We're going to link the Troon team and their goals and our board objectives. And finally, our advisory committees, which are so important to the success of our community. And we're going to link their goals to the board goals and our overall success. Next slide.
So I just want to take a second, and again, we talked about this before, but just review, really what's driving all this, and that's really our mission statement. So again, the board did a lot of work with our consultant on trying to come up with something we felt was appropriate that really defines the reason we're here. And it's Saddlebrook HOA 2 offers an outstanding, active adult lifestyle to our homeowners and guests by combining our majestic natural desert and mountain landscapes with a broad variety of amenities and activities, well-maintained facilities, and quality services. And that, in a nutshell, is the reason why all of us are here, and that's what we're trying to achieve. Next slide.
I'm going to read to you what our vision statement is one more time. It's to be the premier active adult community of choice in Southern Arizona. The vision statement tells the community what we aspire to be. Next slide.
We worked a long time coming up with the value statements, and they are the acronym RAISE: respect, accountability, integrity, service, and excellence. Respect, treating others the way you and we want to be treated. Treat all of our property as if we own it, even the common area maintenance. Celebrate diversity and inclusion. Respect. Accountability. Clear defined roles and responsibilities, and that's what we're going to do today for our committees and our staff. We're going to share our expectations. We're going to adhere by the code of conduct and individual behavior. We're going to get residents more engaged in the governance, and we're all going to take part in fiscal responsibility. That's the accountability piece. The integrity piece: honesty, transparency and communication, and fairness. Service, volunteering. Please remember that the 7 people sitting up here are volunteers. We don't get paid. Compassion through giving of time and talent. And community pride. We live in paradise. It's not perfect, but Saddlebrook, to me, is a paradise. And excellent. Constant evaluation of facilities, amenities, and services. We just hosted the Pinal County Board of Supervisors and their workers. I mean, we had people that do the justice part. We had, secretaries, whatever. We just hosted them in the East Room of the Brook, and it was fabulous. The service was good, the food was good, they were delighted. And that's what we're all going to strive for all of us when we come and have dinner or lunch in the Brook or the Mountain View. Continuous improvement of our processes. This is a process. We're not anywhere near the end line yet. We're just starting. Identify and track key process indicators, which are measures. How are we doing on the golf course? How are we doing in our restaurants? How are we doing with fitness? Which, by the way, is doing very well. And the culture of always striving to be the best. Like Denise said, the premier community in all of Southern Arizona. Next slide, please.
I showed you this chart before. This is our governance apparatus. At the top of the chart are the 7 volunteer board members. We have Walter and his staff that deliver all of the services outside of golf. We have the Troon staff that delivers the golf services. And we have all of our advisory committees that are filled with volunteer residents, just like us, who provide their time and genius to develop expertise to help advise us in executing our duties. Next slide. This is the SWOT that I developed sometime early last year when I was studying our governance apparatus and how we were doing. And based on inputs from fellow board members and you all, this is what we developed. In the bottom line, let me focus for just a minute on our weaknesses. We felt we had an immature governance system. We're trying to correct that here today. Our roles and responsibilities weren't clearly defined. We're working on that. We've been producing too many negative results. We think we're reversing that. We lack the commitment to long-range planning, strategic planning. We didn't have mission or vision statements. And as a board and a staff, we were lacking continuity from year to year. So we had opportunities in front of us. We could create a better system. We could define roles and responsibilities for all of us that play some role in serving the residents of this community. We needed to implement action plans to guide our actions and to keep score. We owe it to you. You need to know if we're doing what we say we're doing. We had the opportunity to produce the strategic plan, and we did that. And so the threats that were in front of us at that time were to do nothing. We chose to act, and you're all here today as a result of that commitment. Next slide.
Matt presented his personal view of the government's apparatus from the last March in the previous slide. The point the board wants to make is that we are moving in a new direction. We are on a journey to excellence in government. This can only be achieved by all of us working together to accomplish our mission statement. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. A journey of 10,000 miles begins with one step. Today is our first step. I just want to take just a second just to thank Matt for his leadership in the past year of coordinating all this with all the board members. You can tell it's a lot of work, and he's put a lot of hours in to get this accomplished.
Next slide. Okay, our strategic planning committee produced this SWOT based on the results of the survey data we received from all the homeowners. So it's very important because this is a reflection of what we heard from our residents. What's our strengths? What do you believe our strengths to be? Natural beauty, facilities, amenities, clubs, people, activities, board commitment to planning, self-govern. Those are the strengths. What are the weaknesses? No long-term strategy. Food and beverage. Lack of trust, resident involvement. Location presents challenge to attracting workers. Underfunded replacement reserve fund. Opportunities, food and beverage again. It's a great opportunity. Strategic communication and planning is an opportunity for us, all of us. Financial planning, that's a big deal. Facilities planning, another issue. More planning is needed. Conduct more town halls and listening sessions. Kind of what we're doing right now and will do on January 29th on our reserve fund town hall, which is just around the corner. Greater board collaboration with HOA 1. We've heard that loud and clear for more than just this year, and we will continue to try and make that happen. Threats. Facilities and infrastructure is aging. Yep, it's getting old, kind of like me. Making poor financial decisions happens all the time. We want to limit that. We want to erase that if possible. Competition and our marketing. Marketing as a community to outside of this community to help folks who are retiring pick Saddlebrook as their retirement home. Opposing change and process management. Rising costs are a threat, and lack of ropes and marketing as well to help drive interest in Saddlebrook. Next slide.
This chart lays out the key board responsibilities. We're charged with running this corporation, and we are a corporation like a business. We need to act like a government. I mean, we live in a small town here, and we need to promote community spirit. I want you to take just a minute now and read these things. There's one more item I'd like to add to this, and that is the board needs to listen to its residents as part of our responsibilities. So, on to the next slide, please.
Okay, so here we have the 2024 board goals. There's 9 goals. I'm going to go through them quickly, but the top 3 are the most critical at this stage. Number 1, strategic governance and empowered management. Ensure strategic planned action plan synchronization with staff and committees. Number 2, master plan facilities. Develop a campus master plan. Number 3, financial stewardship. Produce and maintain a 10-year replacement reserve budget synchronized with the strategic plan and the facility master plan. Number 4, commitment to our team. Promote a healthy work culture and environment. Number 5, the favorite place dining. Set a member satisfaction goal and measure progress. Number 6, effective communications. Use video to send messages to the residents and staff. Number 7, the green space and golf experience. Get the common area maintenance committee up and running. Number 8, exceptional member experience. Prioritize projects for improvements most important to our residents. And number 9, sustainable membership. Provide support to the real estate community. Next slide.
So the board goal champions, each belong to a board member who will be the champion. So again, what we want to do is we want to make sure that somebody owns each one of these, again, with the idea of meeting the previous goals that have been read. So the 9 goals, the strategic governance and empowerment management, the owner of that is Matt. The master plan facilities, Matt is the owner of that. Financial stewardship as the new treasurer, I certainly own that. The commitment to our team, Walter has that. Favorite place dining, Chuck has taken that on. Effective communications, our new secretary, Sean, owns that. Green space and golf experience, Denise. The green space and golf experience also with Dan because it's a gigantic challenge. Both of them are teaming up on that. Exceptional member experience, that's Larry. And sustainable membership is Ray. Next slide.
So here's where we transition. And now we're having a conversation with all of those that really make things happen here for our residents. So I want to thank Walter and Ray personally on behalf of this entire board for your leadership in working with your team to deliver the services that you provide to our residents on a daily basis. Thank you. Next slide. So this is Walter's leader team. This is all the people he told me are going to be responsible to him from the strategic plan synchronization piece within the staff. So Charlie's sitting here. Wave, Charlie. Kayleen's here. Terry's here. Michelle here. There's Michelle. Liz, Alan, Michael. Michael's back there, okay. Jeanette, Mike Matulin, our newest member. Steve Hernandez, who spent a lot of time working with each board member over computer stuff. Never was a man so happy to see 7 people leave him. And Dale Tate. That is our leadership team for the staff. You should give them all a round of applause. And so as we go through the presentation, everybody knows what their responsibilities are, but I wanted you to know that we know that they have responsibilities to all of us. I'm not going to go through them because the real purpose of the exercise is to get to the goals. And so this presentation will be posted online. You'll be able to review it later and go through it with all the time that you want. But Walter's responsibilities cut across all those leaders that just raised their hands. So you get a chance to read them. You'll get to read specifically what he's focusing each person on in the coming year. Yeah, okay, go forward, again, and again. There we go, now we're on the same place. So over the last, 2 months, Walter and I have been trading emails about synchronizing board thinking with his thinking on how we establish the goals. And we've only come up with 21 of them for the staff. And so I'm going to take my time and go through these so you can see what it is that Walter and his team are going to deliver for each of us. I'll just lean in. The first goal is reviewing the strategic plan with the staff to ensure they're familiar with it and to align all of his departments on that mission statement that you got briefed on. Provide data and insight to Master Plan Facilities Task Force and the McMahon Group. So later in the year, we're going to begin our work on developing a master plan for the community. Ray and his team have a lot of information that they're going to provide to the McMahon Group that will be the start point for our work in building that master plan. We've got to develop and implement a resident tour program of our facilities. I'd like all of you all to have the opportunity to look at our facilities and to understand when we tell you where we have issues that you can see with your own eyes. One of Walter's challenges for this year. They've got to execute the 24 facility maintenance plan. We do maintenance every year, don't we, Ray? He's got a plan for 24. And while he's doing that, he's got to produce next year's plan. We've got to establish the monthly financial report set to meet the board, the staff, and the community requirements. This was an interesting conversation piece for Walter and I. We don't really have all the depth on our staff to do everything we want to do when it comes to data analytics, and the board's always asking for more, aren't we, Walter? And so he's counseled me that there's only so much that he can do. So this year, we're going to have one set of financials established between our treasurer and Walter and Terry Dempsey, and we're going to deliver those financial statements each and every month. Walter's team's going to work with the treasurer to produce reserve and capital expenditure reports to be updated on a monthly basis and delivered to you all. We're going to work with the treasurer to produce a disposal asset list that needs to be updated on a quarterly basis. That's just accounting for all of our property. Work with the treasurer to produce a capital expenditures report to be updated monthly. With the input from the board, appropriate committee, and reserve study, we're going to build and maintain a 10-year replacement reserve plan. It's going to... I'm sorry. I got to read my own notes. Next slide.
No, they're there. They're there.
Okay. Work with the treasurer and the finance committee for creation of a rolling reserve study document. A rolling reserve study document? Is that a new reserve study? That is it. Manage and evaluate our staff benefits and programs to provide an inviting work environment and competitive benefits. In other words, I think the word Walter used with me is you board people think that's low-hanging fruit. I just want you to know I remember every conversation. Produce an annual HR report that informs the board of KPI outcomes and efforts to evolve our benefits program. How do we compare with the rest of Arizona? How do we compare with the county as far as our attrition rates, our turnover rates, those sorts of things? And we need to review our current benefit plans and our program. And we need to ensure that we look for other competitive strategies that may be more beneficial for execution going forward. Next slide. In the last set, improve our food and beverage and banquets operation by developing robust programs and culture guided by the results of the consulting company's report and direction. If you don't know, we brought in Real Foods to do an analysis of our food and beverage operation. They've been here, they've conducted their on-site visit, and they're producing their report, which we expect to receive in the next week or two. It is our best intention that that report is going to guide us to ever better performance in our food and beverage operation. We need to develop new ways to leverage video to communicate with the residents and the staff. That goes back to one of the board goals that Denise briefed from our level. So Michelle, we're going to spend time together. We're going to continuously review and improve communication methods and avenues. In spite of all the ways that we're communicating today, we still have residents that are frustrated with us. And Sean has assured me that we're going to do something about that by working with Walter and his team. We're going to continue the implementation and execution of Level 4 and Level 5 landscape maintenance. And Michael, all I can say is good job. We're going to place additional maintenance focus on our clubhouses and Level 3 landscape maintenance. And I got to point this out. Since Michael's come aboard, the global view of all of our needs as it relates to common area maintenance has increased dramatically. And I appreciate your leadership, sir. During the budget development process, we're going to evaluate projects that are a priority to residents and make recommendations to the board. That's what they do on an annual basis. They review everything that the residents ask for, and they analyze them, and they bring the recommendations forward for our action. And we got to enhance our efforts with our local realtor team. We got to build mutually beneficial programs, because everybody here wants a buyer for their home when they're ready to sell, whenever that may be. So that wraps up our goals for Walter and his team. That's an impressive, aggressive agenda. And if you noticed on each one of those, and I didn't point this out, and I apologize for that, for each goal, it's directly linked back to a board goal and objective. Everything that you hear today will meet that standard. Next slide, please. Get her done. So Walter, because he's not to be outdone and he's a good thief too, he's created champions for each of the 9 board goals internally in his staff. And those are depicted on this chart. Next slide.
Okay. Thank you, Matt, for going through the staff roles and expectations for 2024. Let me transition to Troon, another partner in our success. The Troon staff is made up of Matt Malloy, who is officed in Scottsdale, Arizona at your headquarters. Our Director of Golf Operations, which is Matt Hudson. Our Director of Golf Maintenance, Paul Halleck. Board Liaison, myself, and the alternative Board Liaison is Matt. So that is the staff that we work with to make the Troon work in our benefit. Next slide, please. The Troon staff mission. The mission of the Troon staff is to provide excellent customer service to our residents and guests through golf shop operations and sales, support the golf community activities, produce a superior playing conditions commensurate with resources, and maintaining the asset base of our golf enterprise. That's their mission. So let's move, next slide, please. Their responsibilities. Operate Pro Shop at Mountain View and the Preserve Golf Course. Deliver excellent customer service. Maintain relevant sales operations for our residents and guests through partnership with Troon Merchandising. Present our golf courses for the best possible light by executing superior maintenance to our courses. Maintain the standards for golf maintenance conditions as stated in the vision statement created by the Golf Committee. Protect and maintain our maintenance equipment asset inventory, which is significant. Produce annual budget in accordance with HOA2's budget timeline. Maintain and report KPIs, key performance indicators, to the board and to the Golf Committee on a monthly basis. Maintain effective working relationship with board and staff functions necessary to execute the mission. Synchronize annual event plan for the Golf Association. Next slide. Staff goals: prepare and maintain Front 9 to open a resident play in the spring of 2024. Complete the Mountain View rebuild punch list, which we'll talk about at the board meeting on the 31st, but there is a punch list that is required to be completed. Work Golf Committee to establish key process indicators, KPIs, set for the golf enterprise. Submit to the board for approval. Develop, implement, and execute 2024 marketing plan. Develop 2025 budget and 5-year plan in concert with HOA2's budgeting process. Present the very best course conditions possible for all Golf Association special events. Review and update 2025 pricing strategy for board approval in September of 2024. And develop a weekly or bi-weekly couples golf event targeting at least 50 couples at least once or twice a month. That's their goals. Next slide. Okay, so we talked about staff, we talked about Troon. Now we're going to start talking about the committees, the very important committees. One thing that we're doing this year is we're transitioning from the committees have their own charter. If you go online right now, you can read each of the committee's charter. We've asked them to get together, they formed a task force to reevaluate their charters and to create a consistent charter, not just individually for each committee, but at least in basics for each committee. And that work is ongoing as it stands now. In the interim, we will continue on with the current charters, but the new committee charters will probably be available and rewritten. I'm suggesting by May or June, we'll find out, but they're working on them. So by the second half of 2024, we will have consistent committee charters across all of our committees, which is really an important next step for our committees. Next slide.
The most important committee, the Architecture and Landscaping, the ALC, something that touches every one of us a lot. Bobby Freer is the chairperson, and right now we have Annie Maud, Dan Mullen, Bruce Shapey as members. I'm the co-chair according to the CC&Rs. The ALC is the only committee that by our CC&Rs says that the co-chair of the committee must be a board member. And then my alternate board liaison is my good friend Chuck Kill. We have 5 other folks who have been working diligently with the ALC since probably March. And they are just about ready to have their names submitted to the board to be put on the ALC, because we wanted them to feel comfortable with what the ALC does and to get trained on all the different aspects of the ALC. As you know, the ALC's purpose is to make sure that our beautiful community stays beautiful. We don't want pink flamingos in our front yards. So according to the ALC guidelines, we follow those, and right now the committee has started, actually they started before I became part of the ALC, reviewing the ALC guidelines to make them clearer and make them more in line with what HOA1 does. So our committee goals for this year is that we're going to review, oh, I'm sorry, next slide. Sorry. One more, please.
No, you're there.
Wait, you do that. Sorry.
I'm sorry, go back, please. Thank you. I should turn and look at it this way, it's closer. All right, so our Architecture and Landscape Committee goals is to review, update, and gain board approval for our charter, which we'll do that by June. Continue to improve recruiting efforts to fully staff the ALC. The ALC has in its charter that it can have 15 members. Come if you would like to be on the ALC, let me know. We're going to review and improve the ALC guidelines, like I said, make them clearer for our residents. Establish clear definitions for notice of violation and courtesy notifications to improve follow-up procedures, and continue joint efforts with HOA1 ALC to establish commonality and guidelines. Bobby and someone else from the ALC, HOA2 ALC, meets with the HOA1 ALC at least every other month, if not every month. It depends on their schedules. Next slide, please.
Okay, so I think we're probably going to have to wrestle over on what the best committee is, but the newest committee is the Common Area Maintenance Committee, and that's been recently established. They're going to be hand in hand with Michael and his team. The chairperson on that is Eileen Debka. The people that are on this committee right now, which we're going to be adding a few more shortly, is Len Denning, Art Kupchak, Richard Borland, Maureen Borland, Doug Springer. I'm the liaison, and Matt is going to be the alternate. You're going to be able to find the charter and the responsibilities for the camp committee online. Let's go over what the goals are for the camp committee. So next slide, please. Thank you. Number 1, review and update, gain board approval for the charter. Check. Establish the Common Area Committee. Check. Review, update, and gain board approval for revised CAM policy. That's going to be worked on over the next several months. Work with Supervisor Common Area Maintenance to develop a forestry strategy annex for the CAM policy, which has not been completed yet. Review use of CAM committee to issue and follow up on special requests permits by the homeowners. Next slide.
Thank you, Denise. The election committee, it's a 3-person committee, and Mike Brenny is our chairman, and Cash Striplin has been member number 2, and Mike reports just in the last 2 days that he's found the 3rd member to bring forward for approval for this committee. Next slide. Same thing, roles and responsibilities, or purpose and responsibilities are contained in the charter that you can find online. But our goals for the election committee for this year, next slide please, are review and update and gain board approval for your charter. Prepare a plan to execute a special voting campaign for the replacement reserve fund. Prepare the annual board election plan, and create a storage system for all files in the HOAs. That should be hardware, so they can have all of our data backed up. Next slide. The next committee is our Employee Appreciation Committee. Roger Sweat, who's been doing this work for a long time, serves as our chair. Trudy Hogan, Kay Tournay, and Maggie DeBlock are part of that committee. I serve as the liaison. In other words, I stay out of Roger's way. And I appreciate very much what they do. Next slide. Obviously, you know, every Christmas we have a fundraising campaign, and you are very generous people. This past year, more than $70,000 was collected and distributed to our employees. That's you. That's what you do. And so obviously, I'm very grateful to each of you who supports that effort, and Roger and his team who do a magnificent job. Our goals for the coming year, next slide please. Again, we're going to work on their charter. We're going to build and execute the 2024 Employee Appreciation Campaign. And we too are going to move Roger's files he has on his computer into the HOA domain. Next slide.
So the Finance Committee, which I personally think is the most important committee, but I guess that's up for some discussion. The chairman of the committee, the new chairman, is Campbell Cheney, our ex-treasurer, which I'm so happy that he was willing to volunteer with quite a bit of arm twisting to take that job. Ray Adams, Jim Cox, Bill Einecker, Duff Fletcher, John Howard, Pat Lenz, Bill Mead, Dave Wigg, Brett Benedict, who is, of course, been the treasurer in the past, is an advisor, a very valuable advisor. I am the new board liaison, being that I'm the treasurer, and the alternate board liaison, of course, is our assistant treasurer, Larry. Next slide. And again, the purpose and responsibilities are going to be defined in the charters, which, of course, are all being worked on. Next slide. So overall, the Finance Committee, they need to, their main objectives: review, update, gain board approval for the charter, obviously. Continue the audit subcommittee, which is a valuable subcommittee of that group. Review and update, as needed, the investment policy. They give recommendations to the board on investments. Work with the staff in Troon to design and update an HOA2 Troon savings tracking document, which records all financial benefits to the HOA for the Troon Partnership. This is something that was worked on, started about 1.5 years ago when we had Club Life, and it's really important that we can demonstrate to the residents the benefits that we're getting from a standpoint of our partnership. So they're going to work on that. Ensure the credit card fee program is initiated and measured monthly. That's a program that is being worked on right now. Hopefully it'll be finalized very, very shortly. The staff is working on that to make a recommendation to the board. And follow up with any financial recommendations from the F&B audit being conducted by Real Food. That was mentioned a little earlier. Next slide. So as far as the goals are concerned, these all come from comments, most of the comments that came from the residents and all the surveys. That's where all these came from, really. Develop an easy-to-read dashboard to be an icon on the website for residents to view our financial health. So make it easier for us when we do a report that you can look at on our website or in our meetings to understand. Work with the staff and the reserve analysis group to develop a rolling 10-year operating budget projection to be updated annually and synchronize with the strategic plan and the facilities master plan. So this is something that really we need to do. Work with the staff to finalize the design of the disposal asset list to record and track the status of all replaced assets. This is something that's a new list that we just developed. We have a lot of money that we spend on new reserve items, pieces of equipment every year, but we need to do a better job of tracking what happens to the old items. Where do they go? Do we sell them? Do we get any money for them? That's what this is, this reserve asset list. Keep an accurate list of exactly all the assets the HOA has and where it goes. Develop an analytics tab in the monthly financials that displays the KPI trends for easy-to-understand analysis of financial health and progress. Again, the idea to make our reporting easier for residents to understand. Work with the staff to track the results of the F&B loyalty program to measure the benefits and or losses. This loyalty program is one we launched, I think, in September. You get the $5 for every $100 you spend at the restaurants. But we really need to do an analysis and measure that, the KPI of that, to make sure that it's actually gaining the additional business at the restaurants, which is the goal for any reward plan program. And finally, this is kind of a big one, finalize the completion of a reserve study document called the Rolling Reserve Study. It's a document that's already been started by the committee. The document is to be updated at the beginning of every year. It's going to be a living reserve study to include all the new assets, all the present assets that were replaced, the replacement costs, the projected life. The document will be used for the 5-year and 10-year projections, and it's going to be synchronized with the strategic plan and the facilities master plan. It's going to be the basis that we give to the triennial reserve study data that we provide to whatever reserve study we hire. And just to explain that a little bit, so we have a reserve study we hire every 3 years. And basically, after the reserve study is done, it's kind of stuck in a drawer. And so that means every 3 years what happens is the company comes in and they spend a number of days interviewing all the people of all the departments to try to remember what they did in the last 3 years, look at all of our records, which sometimes aren't always organized the best, and try to update it. And what this is the goal of this is to make this a living document so that every year we're going to update it so we don't have to reinvent the wheel after every 3 years, such that we always have an accurate picture every year of what our next 10-year and 5-year expenses are going to be. So that's kind of an explanation to a very long-winded description. Next slide.
Okay. This is the reason why you all moved to Saturday. I call it the Fitness, Wellness, Recreation, and Happy Committee. Because if we didn't have all these amenities, why are you here? You didn't come here to get in your house and just sit there and not do anything. So if you'll look, this is one of the largest committees that we have because everybody wants to make this stuff work. So we've got Doug Springer, we got Candy Armstrong, Barbara Barr, Joab Benson, Phil Doyle, Eileen Depka, Terry McCarthy, Lynn Marino, Bill Powell, me, and Sean. Okay? So the question is, what makes you happy? And what is the purpose and the responsibility? So let's go to the next slide. And then skip to the next one, okay? So we have some things we want to accomplish, and the first two have been gone over, I think, 5 or 6 times now. But we do want to come up with some new amenity policies, and that's part of the thing that we got to be working on. Every year, we do a recreation fair, and I think that just occurred. And then we do a grandkids' day every year, so you'll find grandkids on the tennis courts and on the pickleball courts, and they're kind of like everywhere around this place, so they do that every year. And then 5 and 6, in the past, this committee has been kind of keyed in on fitness and wellness. But you know, all of our amenities are what people use, and all of them need to be coordinated together. How can we make them better? If we have ideas that another committee needs to work on, this committee needs to come up with those ideas and let the other committees know that this is something that maybe we should be looking at instead of just wellness and fun, and fitness. Because we don't have everybody going to the gym. Okay, we don't have everybody doing the yoga. But we have most people using some amenities. And now that we've had the survey, we kind of have a guide on what people really like, how important is that amenity to you and others, and that amenity may not be that important to other people. So we have to quantify all that stuff, see how can we enhance things and do it in a way that doesn't cost us an arm and a leg. But this is something that's going to take a while to do, but we've got some good people working on it. And once again, I go back to this is our happy time, and this is why people live here. Next committee, or slide, please.
Thanks, Larry. Okay, let's talk about the golf committee. The golf committee is being chaired by Lee Lexell, who's been doing that. I think, Lee, you're on your 3rd year maybe of that? 2 years? Long time. Thank you for that. He has some great members that meet regularly with Lee and others. Debbie, Sam, Diane, Don, and Marcy. And I'll be the board liaison, and Matt Cambeck will be my alternative to that. Or alternate, not alternative. Next slide. You've heard this before. Their charter is online. They're working on a new charter, so if you want to read it, happy to see you go online and you can find it there. Next slide. The golf committee's responsibilities and goals for 2024. Review and update and gain board approval of the charter. So that's coming. Work with the Troon staff to update revised 30-year sustainment plan for the golf enterprise and submit to the board for inclusion in the 2025 reserve study process. That's a lot of work. Update the Mountain View and Preserve Golf Course storyboards for reset and aspirational projects and submit to the board. Work with Troon to establish KPIs for the golf enterprise. Establish merchandise sales subcommittee to support Troon efforts. Produce a report for the board that captures the golf enterprise experience in years 18 through 23 that includes the details of the golf enterprise, which are rounds played, revenue experience, annuals, punch cards, play as you go, folks, expense experience of the golf operation, meaning specifically maintenance. And we also kind of like to keep track of water. And the reason water is important is, well, it's important just because it's water, but we've just installed a new irrigation system in Mountain View, and we want to make sure we're getting what we expect in terms of efficiency of that system. So that's something they'll be working on. Before I get off here, I want to mention, I'll go back one slide real quickly. When you read this, and hopefully you'll read it at home, each one of these goals we have just talked about, whether it's me or anybody else, there's a goal number attached to it. And that goal number is the board goal, the goals that we have in place for our community. So the synchronization that we're talking about today flows straight back to the board goals. And that's important. So each one of these goals that you'll see for the committees as well as the staff flow back. And you'll see the number attached to it. So if it's confusing to you, go back to the board goals and you'll see why that goal of the committee is important to making the board goals happen in 2024. All right, next slide. Chuck.
My area of Rules and Regulation Committee, members Chairman Ray Adams, Vice Chair Roger Sweat, Secretary Kimberly Cox, Michael Leasley, John Soikian, Kim Bennett, Bob Crone. I'm the board liaison, and the alternate is Larry Santora. The purpose and responsibilities are being worked on and will be online soon for the new charter. Next slide. Next slide. The Rules and Regulation Committee, review, update, and gain board approval for the new charter, as I just mentioned. Conduct quarterly meetings with HOA1 counterparts regarding issues affecting both communities and ensure consistency wherever possible. I think almost all committees do that with HOA1 to try to get them as close as possible, and I think that's a very worthwhile goal. Establish a joint liaison with the CAM committee to ensure rules affecting the common area and are established in concert with and support both committee charter. And as you know, the CAM committee is new, so this is very important to have coordination between the two. Develop a standard report form for the board regarding all appeals brought before the committee. This will include the rules violated, penalty imposed, and synopsis of the residents' pleading. Make effective recruitment efforts to ensure the committee is at full strength. As all committees, I think what Matt mentioned earlier, it's very important we have probably, 5,600 residents out here, somewhere in that ballpark. Very important that you guys, as many people as possible, volunteer for some of these committees, whatever your interests lie, because it's the more people we have on these committees, the better off we are. And right now, almost every committee is short members. Number 6, review the rules with an end to eliminate unenforceable rules and bring rules into consistency with HOA1 wherever possible. Assist other committees to establish rules which aid their purpose. To this end, each standing committee will be invited to present issues on a regularly scheduled Rules Committee meeting. Number 8, participate in new home owner reception to attract their attention to the rules and inform them of committee's role in enforcement. This is something, the new homeowner reception is something Sean has been working on for several months. We've had a few of them. We've had good participation from new homeowners, and it's a very good opportunity for all the new homeowners to understand what we have to offer and also what all the rules involved. Creating a new homeowner's guide to the rules to be included in the orientation package. Next slide.
Okay, so now we are going to talk about the Unit Rep Council. Karen Brooks is the chairman of that. I'm the liaison, and the alternate is my friend here, Sean. Right now, the Unit Rep group is a council. We are, if you want to go to the next slide, appreciate it. Thank you. One more. We're looking to review, update, and gain a board approval for the charter that's being worked on. We'd also like to reestablish this group as a Unit Rep committee. And number 3, work with the board and staff to support improved communication flow between board, staff, and residents. Next slide.
How we doing? I'm really impressed. It's 2:56 and you burned through 56 slides. You did a great job. This slide, what I just wanted to convey here, and I'll have this posted online. Charlie will take care of the hard stuff. This is the linkage chart that we produced to show how the board is linked to Walter and his staff, to the Troon team, and then to each of the advisory committees. And when you get to study this, and I know that's an eye chart and you can't read it, but when you get to look at it, I think you're going to be impressed by the fact that all of us have worked to pull these goals together so we can accomplish our mission in 24. And I want to express my thanks to everybody on the board, to Walter and your team who did everything I asked you to do, and to each of the committee chairs that have been so vital in this process. We didn't just sit at home and think this stuff up. We interacted with one another. And you're going to see when we do this again next year, I'll bet we're a lot better at it because everybody will know what to expect in this process as we move forward. Next slide. Finally, somebody's going to ask me about, so what? How you keeping score? And so we've created a process to do exactly that. We built action plans for each of the board goals. And all those objectives that fall out and fall down to either the staff or to the committees will be reflected on the board action plan. Because it's the responsibility of each board member where they serve as a champion to update this. Sean will be the custodian of this document. And as we develop it and fully deploy it, it'll get posted online for you. And we'll update periodically. And I don't know how often periodically is yet. Haven't got that far down to writing the SOPs for us. But what I want you to know is that the expectation is somebody's going to own the action. Somebody's going to have to deliver an outcome. They're going to have a target date for doing that. And we're going to have a way of measuring that success because my friend Chuck won't let anything else but that be the outcome that we have. So, next slide, please. So the whole focus of this effort is to successfully accomplish our mission. It's to provide to you everything that our mission statement says. Your participation here today is setting another brick in the foundation that will allow us to be wildly successful in delivering high-quality services and experiences to our residents and guests. So this is the first step in that long journey that Chuck was talking about. But I think you can see that we're serious about working collectively and collaboratively. And as Larry pointed out, our obligation to listen to you. We tried to do that through the survey, and I promise you, we got more information than anybody should ever be expected to be able to absorb. 668 pages from the survey. I probably got a 3-inch stack of paper from the December 13th briefing, and the 6 focus groups that we executed. I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to use that word. That we conducted, because we're not killing anybody here. And so, I don't know how many more ways that I can ask you for what you're thinking about, because I think we've captured it. So our job is to elevate your experience here in the community. We want to deliver better services. We want food and beverage to be wildly successful. We want our golf operation to be wildly successful. We want every amenity that you touch to be wildly successful. We want all of our buildings to be well maintained. We intend to execute our duties as your board. I hope hope is not a method, but it's our intention to elevate your confidence in what your board delivers for you. And that's what we're working to do. And now we're ready to take your questions or comments. Yes, sir. You need to come down to the mic because we're recording this and the folks at home want to hear. Everybody knows the drill, right? Name, lot, unit.
Do I need to push a button?
I don't think so. I hear you.
You hear me good. I don't know whether to face you or face the group of people here in the audience, but I especially want to thank the members of the various committees for reaching out and having an association with HOA1 and coordinate what we're doing with what they're doing to better serve both communities. So I thank you all for that, what you're doing. Also want to thank the committee. I not only acknowledge, but I celebrate.
Wait a minute. What is your name and what is your unit number,
Oh,
please?
I want to remain anonymous.
No, we need to know who you are.
Thank you. I meant to do that at the beginning. My name is Eric Sensiba. I've been a homeowner here in HOA 2 for 6 years, this coming on August. Okay? Was there something? Beg your pardon?
Your lot number?
My lot number is, I'm in unit 36A, lot number 74.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. And again, I want to celebrate and acknowledge the hard work each of you have done as volunteers. Everybody in this room appreciates and value what you do very much. One of the questions I have is, in April of last year, you board and HOA1 board signed an agreement that you would start meeting cooperatively. I know the committees have done that, and I want to know what you as a board have done. If you have met at all, if you have, how many times, and what was discussed? Thank you.
I can answer that question. Last year, Dan and I met with the president and another member of the board at HOA1. First of all, let me back up. I've met multiple times with representatives from HOA1's board. Dan and I, particularly when he was the president and I was nobody, we met with the president of HOA1 and one of her board members. And we were discussing the vision, the 10-year vision on how we see Saddlebrook. And we were discussing on how we could work collaboratively to build the best future Saddlebrook we could build. That was the extent of that conversation. I have, today Dan and I got to speak with Joanne Ellison. She was here for the county presentation. We were having a conversation about SPAC and the chairman for SPAC. Anything else I could answer for you?
Do you have plans for future meetings?
Yes.
When?
My next meeting is scheduled with Tom next week, next Tuesday.
When these meetings occur, is there any way to provide feedback for us as residents as to what's being discussed and the plan of action?
Well, first of all, these are not planning meetings. These are building the bridge to get to those meetings. So these aren't outcomes-based. These are looking for what are the things that we're concerned about that are mutual between us and between them. And so right now we do not have a formal process for moving forward. We're trying to get to that.
Thank you very much. Have
You're
a great
welcome,
day.
Eric.
How about this one? Just come on down a little further.
Yeah,
This one.
the other one's working.
Go down to the mic, sorry.
He's got one. It's only a couple things.
My name's John Eichholt. I live in, to make sure I meet the qualification here, I live in Unit 35, Lot 4. Get those turned around once in a while. In the villas. I'm a snowbird, so I'm here. I'm one of those 20%. I have a place in Wisconsin and I have a place here. My wife and I do. I really don't have a question. I have a statement, and that statement is I want to applaud you folks for your hard work. Not just thank you, applaud you. You've laid out a massive effort here. You've laid out a massive effort here. And the extent you've gone to make people feel involved. If somebody doesn't feel involved, it's their fault. It's just like being here in Saddlebrook. If you can't find something to do, you're not trying hard enough, because there's plenty to do. And if somebody doesn't feel they have an opportunity for input after the way you've laid this out, that's their fault, not yours. So I applaud you for your effort, and I wish you Godspeed, because I have some experience with this in my other life, and the planning and the explaining, it's like a green pasture, and then you go into a minefield of implementing. And that's where you're at right now. So Godspeed and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say, go Minnesota Twins.
I live in Wisconsin,
That's okay. And
Packer Nation, baby. Packer Nation.
go Joe Mauer in the Hall of Fame.
Lion Nation, Lion Nation.
I take everything back.
There you go. No good deed goes unpunished. No questions? Well,
Oh, one more.
Two more, maybe.
I'm Dick Schrader, Unit 49, Lot 9. The only mention I heard in the presentation today about HOA 1 was in relation to a few committees. Where in the plan is where you will address the reciprocal use agreement?
yeah, the reciprocal use agreement is not on our agenda for 2024 as a board. The RUA doesn't come up for renewal for a number of years yet, Dick. And so the RUA is part of what Dick and I, or what Dan and I have tried to launch to engage in conversations with our fellow mates from across the community. So we have a desire to engage in these conversations. We're working towards making that a reality.
But not before 2025?
We're working on it right now, Dick. But we are working our way towards the other party involved.
So there is conversation, a dialogue?
Yeah, we started that last year.
Okay.
Just to
Am I-
clarify, the RUA expires in 2028. Both HOAs have to decide within a year before that, 2027, whether they want to proceed or make changes to it. So the earliest any proposed change would be 2027. That's the timing of the present RUA. So,
But we're not.
All I will say is it will sneak up on you faster than you realize if it's not on the radar this year.
Yeah, I want to make this clear. We are working towards a dialogue with our brothers and sisters at HOA 1. We're working on it.
Okay. Then second question relating to the McMahon Group. And number one, I'm a supporter of that partnership. Last year, I think the board said that contract for this plan was about, was it $60,000? Whatever the dollar figure was. Today you mentioned ongoing dialogue with the McMahon Group on the going through this year. is that at an additional cost, or is,
Yes, the master plan is a $55,000 contract.
and when does that expire?
When we complete the master plan.
Okay, so no additional cost to the HOA.
I guess, Dick, you've lost me.
Well,
We paid for the strategic plan with the McMahon Group. That contract's been fulfilled. The master plan contract will be a new contract.
okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you. And thank you for the effort that went into today.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks.
I have to move this mic. Good afternoon. My name's Tracy Reingruber. I'm from Unit 43, Lot Number 8. And I have a couple questions. I'm finally getting engaged in participating in your HOA2 board meetings. And I have two questions for the board. I saw in a lot of the board goals that you're going to deliver a lot of information. And one of the things that was a theme to me on all of the charters was where's the financial overlay with some of those decisions that actually end up giving deliverables as part of your strategic master plan. So we're not seeing all the financial aspects of one decision versus another decision or making changes. The other comment or question I had as part of the strategic plan and feedback from the surveys, there was a concern that we didn't have a lot of trails, bike paths, some concerns about safety. I can tell you firsthand in the preserve when I drive around between all the worker trucks, all the trucks that are now going into the new lot developments from Robeson, bicyclists, walkers, there's not enough room on the road, especially with the corners and windy roads back there. I've seen a couple of close calls. And so I would urge the board, as part of your master plan, to consider upgrading, adding more sidewalks to both sides of the road. We need to also inform some of the residents, if there are sidewalks on one side, to walk on the sidewalks. Safety is a big issue. Another thought we had, my husband and I had, is we're making a huge decision to invest in another golf course upgrade, which will cost quite a bit of money to the residents with a special assessment. Why wouldn't we consider converting one of the golf courses into preserve, bicycle path, etc.? So I encourage you to consider other options of what we can do on how we spend our money, which would be a lot more affordable. That's all I have.
Thank you for your comments.
Good afternoon. I'm from Unit Big House, Lot 1. So,
Your name, Mark?
Walter Yaza, yes, General Manager, just in case you didn't know, Dan. I just wanted to stand up and thank the board for putting this together. I've been here 9 years, and I think this is the first time we've had this level of coordination pushed down to us as we build budgets and as our staff works on trying to plan things. You know, we think we know what you want, but I think it's a lot clearer this year, and it's going to be a lot clearer next year when we build our budgets and go forward with our goals. So thanks to the board from the staff.
Thanks, Walter.
Thanks, Walter.
Make it happen, baby.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. There you go.
So let me, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. Tracy, but I want to acknowledge Tracy. Next Monday, it is next Monday, right? Next Monday, we're going to have the Reserve Fund Town Hall. And I told you about the big stack of input we've got from the community. And we've gotten a lot of ideas. Tracy mentioned a couple of them. We've got a lot of ideas. Next Monday, if you want to hear our response to some of your comments, we're going to be prepared to provide that to you next Monday as we have the conversation about the reserve. And I got to make this point with you as we close today. The assessment is not about rebuilding a golf course. That is not what the assessment is about. The assessment is about $45 to $50 million of requirements that are in our reserve over the next 10 years, of which the golf course is a part of. And so on Monday, we're going to try and give you more detail so you understand the significance of the problem, the enormous impact it has on to every facet of our community. This Desert View complex, the Mountain View complex, the Preserve complex, our roads, the other category, we catch all, and the golf course. It's all part of the $45 to $50 million challenge we as a community face. And so on Monday, we're going to be prepared to lay out again what the recommendations were from the Replacement Reserve Analysis Group, and we're going to entertain, to the best of our collective ability, the questions got put into a bucket. Ray, where are you at? Ray, stand up. This is one hard-working gentleman.
Woohoo, Ray. That's great.
Ray Adams. Ray Adams is the chairman of our Rules and Reg Committee. He did all the work. He and his committee did all the work to make dog walking on our golf courses possible after all these years. Ray did that. Additionally, he was part of the Charlie, where are you at? Charlie, stand up. Charlie was with Ray and a great lady by the name of Maureen Spence that conducted, I'm a soldier. We execute missions, but around here people think I'm shooting somebody. We conducted 6 focus groups. 58 residents showed up, and we've got a stack of stuff like this. Ray, 258 questions?
Just comments. There are over 750 comments. There are 214 directed to the board.
So that's what we do at night. We get to read through all that. I tell you this because Ray took all of that and put it into 13 question buckets. And we are busy researching answers to bring to you on Monday. So I encourage you, if you're like Miss Tracy and you really want to know what we can and cannot do, you want to be there on Monday. I thank you for your attendance today. God bless you all. I'll see you then.